You're listening to Stellar Success, Leveling Up for Medical Pros with Dr. Tudor Francu. Join us as we explore how medical professionals can achieve stellar success in all areas of life. It's time to level up.
Hello, Dr. Barrett. How are you?
Hello, I am fine. How are you?
I'm great. I'm very excited to have you on my show because I think people will learn a lot from your experience.
Great, fantastic.
First of all,
Happy to
it's a
help.
subject it's a topic of a show that not many people are looking for, but everybody has them, right?
Hmm.
Migraines and headaches.
Right.
And that's your focus right now. So kind of walk me through a little bit of your history, a little bit of how you started in medicine. How did you come to do this?
Yeah. So I trained in neurology at Stanford, ran a private practice for 20 years, and I just got frustrated with the limitations of conventional medicine. I got very excited about what's happening in functional medicine and functional genomics in particular, because I feel like people who have bad headaches and migraines work so hard to get better, but they just don't have any guidance about what is actually going to work for them. And functional genomics gives us that. It tells you how that person is wired. You can find out what is going on under the surface and give those people a plan to get better. That includes not only medications, but also lifestyle choices. And that is what I do now. I developed DNA test kits specifically for people with migraines and chronic headaches based on genome-wide association studies. And I developed an AI-powered platform to analyze that gene data that constantly surveys the literature, because this stuff is all changing so fast, and gives the recommendations about what is going to make those people better fastest.
Yeah, it's a field that it's basically brand new, right?
Yes.
I don't think anybody thought about looking into genome sequencing, thinking of headaches. We
Right.
all have them, right? We all have them. There's not one single person who doesn't have a headache. You know, s- a lot of people more than others, and then other people are like debilitated by this symptoms and pain. But nobody thought that this could be related to genetic makeup.
Right. Well, I think part of it is that, I don't know about you, but when I trained in neurology, we had not sequenced one human genome.
Yeah,
I
I know.
mean, like that happened during my career. And in the
Yeah,
beginning, it was all about, oh, you have the gene for X, you have the gene for Y. And that's interesting, but not terribly helpful, right? So it's this whole shift in thinking to sort of look at gene patterns, to look at a dozen different genes that regulate a whole biological system in your body, like inflammation or vascular function or mitochondrial energy production, and say, okay, yeah, this system as a whole isn't working well based on these dozen genes we looked at. How do we support that system? So it's a completely different mindset than in the beginning when we were like, oh, you have the gene for X, sorry. you know,
right.
it's come so
Yeah,
far.
it's some form of a capital judgment on people and on patients when they discover this type of genes. But in
Yeah.
this case, how can you associate the different types of headaches, right? Because there's so many ways of diagnosing a headache or a migraine to the genome. Are there any correlations that you clearly can say are related?
Yeah, I think you're getting at like genotype phenotype connection. So let me explain where the genes came from. So, we've known for 20 years that some genes, like certain detox genes, oxidative stress genes like SOD2, methylation genes, MTHFR, we've known for 20 years that all that stuff is linked with migraine. But what happened is we started doing genome-wide association studies. And in 2023, there was a whole ton of data that was published. And so what what they did is they put the DNA of 100,000 people with migraine into a machine, compared that with the DNA of 700,000 people who don't, and they looked at like 4 million SNPs on each person. This is a lot of data, right? We couldn't do this until computers got better. And what they found is about 200, not quite, genes that are more common in the people who do have migraine compared to the people who don't. So now we kind of said, that's interesting. Well, what the heck are those genes and what do they do? And it turns out they regulate 4 biological systems in the body. So the first is brain chemistry, of course, neurotransmitters like serotonin, GABA, glutamate, inflammation genes that regulate interleukins, TNF, mitochondrial energy production genes related to nutrients, clearance of oxidative stress, detox genes to get rid of all this stuff from your body, vascular genes, things like ACE and NOS3 that regulate vascular stability. We know that people with migraines have kind of jumpy blood vessels, prone to vasospasm. So that's kind of the systems that those genes turned out to be related to. And, there are a couple of outliers, et cetera, but for the vast majority of people, that's what it is. That's what's going on when you lift up the hood of the migraines and look at the engine. Those are the drivers.
Yeah, I can only imagine how clinically representative this modality of diagnosis would be in a future, because not only I'm trying to make a comparison with, maybe it's not appropriate, but with cancer, right? Where we look really closely to find out what kind of genetic influence we have for certain type of cancers. Mm-hmm. But in case of headaches and migraines, this association would mean so much for so many people. Mm-hmm. Compared to diagnosing the cancer one type or another, comparatively in the population.
Right.
So, I mean, what are the clinical implications of this test?
So I think that it is most useful for clarifying exactly what that person needs to do to get better. So just kind of circling back to, your questions about genotype phenotype correlations, for people who have this brain chemistry problem, these people also have more anxiety, they have more depression, they have more insomnia. We've known that about migraine forever, but now we know why. For people who have more problems with inflammation, what else do they have? They have IBS or other gut issues, leaky gut, from the functional medicine world. They might have more food sensitivities, more gut permeability. Those might be the factors. So that's where they need to focus. Other people, who are tired all the time, it take a very long time to get better after infections and things like that. They have more buildup of toxins. They're more sensitive to things like mold. Those are going to be the people who have problems with energy production from the mitochondria. So we can sort of make some phenotypic correlations. I designed a quiz to help people do this, and they can kind of get a sense of what their headache type, air quotes, might be, based on the symptoms that they're having. Is it more the anxiety, depression, insomnia? Is it more the gut issues, the multiple food sensitivities, the IBS? Is it more that they are just tired all the time, no matter how much they sleep, they don't feel better? What is it that's really going on for them? And I'm working on analyzing the gene data right now to publish that in abstract form, just to let people know, hey, this is what we're seeing. This, here's how common these abnormalities are that we know are linked to migraine. Well, let's get a sense, like, what's more commonly linked? What phenotypic correlations might there be? It's incredibly powerful stuff. Migraine is the number one cause of disability in women under 50. That's a lot of women. That's 5 million women in this country who are living with chronic headaches. That's a lot of lives. And all of those families are impacted by that person having headaches every day or almost every day. So I think it really has an amazing potential to help clarify how to help people get better.
Yeah, definitely. And the traditional way of treating a headache hopefully is going to go away, because the classical approach when somebody has a headache is to take a pill,
Right.
take a pain pill, right?
Hmm.
But we don't really know why that headache happens, and like what are the reasons behind that. And I think, this is a major improvement in the way you diagnose a symptom and, a condition.
Yeah.
Now, you you transformed your clinical practice and your professional life in focusing into this specific topic.
I did. Yeah.
And you created also a company around it.
Yes, I
Uh,
did.
how what were the transition steps for you to go from, a neurologist to a woman entrepreneur who focus on headaches?
Yeah. So probably the entrepreneur was always in me a little bit. I mean, I did start my private practice. I love building efficient systems. I just think that's incredibly fun. I also love the brain. When I was a little girl, I was 8 years old. I used to make little models of the human brain. So this is sort of just a fusion of lifelong interests for me. And I think really my first step was I started offering some programs for patients who were already in my office to tell them all the things I wish I had time to tell them, but I just don't. I mean, you know how it is. You know, I wish it was like the olden days where we could actually spend
Spend
the
time.
time we
Yeah.
wanted, and but it's not the reality that we practice in now. So I created programs just to be able to give them that additional information, super low ticket, designed to be accessible to everybody. And it kind of grew from there. Once I knew how to create an online course, I thought, well, what if I do something that's even more all encompassing to try to help people even more, give them access to more resources that they may not have? And so that kind of spiraled. And then once I got more immersed in the online world, I had to learn, what a funnel is, what a landing page is, what an email list is. And that's practically an MBA, although I'm not sure there's a
Yeah.
formal program in it. But that's it's a whole other skill set. And so I got some help learning those tools from amazing organizations like the Health Business Growth Community. There are some great organizations out there that teach doctors how to do this stuff. And then the genetic stuff came along, and I thought, oh, this is the game changer. I have to make this accessible to people. This is going to change lives.
Yeah, that's true. So you are in a phase right now that you're continuing to do research and put resources out for people right now. What is the reach that you want to accomplish out there? How do you go out there with this idea, with this topic, with your solutions?
So I think for me, what really resonates is just providing education, helping people understand this new way of looking at migraines. And I do that in a lot of ways. I have a YouTube channel, a podcast, I run Facebook ads, I have webinars, I have ebooks. I am about to publish my first book, super excited about that. And so I think a lot of it is just helping people understand what's going on under the surface because, for so many people, they have the thought, oh, weather changes cause my migraines, stress causes my migraines, my hormones cause my migraines. But then I always ask them, yeah, but other people go through weather changes and they don't get migraines. So what's different about you compared to them, right? There's something about how you're made. And then they usually kind of say, huh, okay, yeah, I guess there is something going on with me biologically in terms of how it responds to my environment that's different from other people. But what do I do about what's inside of me? Obviously, I can't change the weather. What do I do about, my own systems? How do I support those? And then people are curious and interested and they start to see how important their choices can be. So I think for me, that's what I focus on is just trying to educate.
Yeah, that's amazing. Tell me a little bit about your book.
So it is called Align, live in sync with your DNA to relieve headaches and migraine for good. And it is about these four biological systems that I was talking about and how they really debunk some common myths that we have about migraine. Like, what you were saying earlier about how what we do is basically, we give people a pill, right? Pop a pill and power through. That's what we tell people. If your pain is gone, that's a success. Is it though? Right? Where's that gotten us? It's gotten us to this place where an awful lot of people are on disability because of this brain disease that we call migraine. So maybe we need some other solutions in our toolbox there. I'm not bashing medications or pharma at all, but I'm just saying, new science is opening up new ways for us to help people. So, trying to help people debunk those myths like that and what the genetics has shown us to be maybe not true that we thought was true.
Yeah, and I think this is a bigger discussion that you're probably gonna face as a clinician uh, addressing this topic is that people don't like to change and people
Right.
don't like change. So when they come to you with a headache or a migraine and you tell them that, look, you might have to change some things in your lifestyle, you might have to address some issues in your environment, or the people you interact with, or the way you're thinking, or the way you're grateful, or the way you're meditating. They don't they don't like that. Most people don't. They like to take a pill, you know, the headache is gone for a moment, and the next day they'll see what they can do to take another pill for the headache to be gone. How do we change the mentality and the mindset of our patients to understand that not only the genetic makeup has to address some of our environmental, personal, social interactions that we have during the day to live better?
Yeah, yeah, really great question. And I think that's hard to do. But the truth is that, if you take a pill and your migraines go away, fine, go live your life. Great, don't change anything. But the people who are really impacted by this are the ones where meds aren't working. They're not
Yeah.
getting better no matter what. They're still having bad headaches of some kind or another, whatever diagnosis they have, 3 days a week, 4 days a week, 5 days a week. And I think the reason those people don't want to change is because they have tried everything and it didn't work. And, the truth is, that what they tried may not have been what they needed. Like let's go back to this, think about that brain chemistry type of person, okay? And let's say maybe they're working really hard on restricting foods and, potential food triggers. They're doing all these elimination diets. They're taking omegas. They're doing cold plunges to shut down inflammation. They are totally doing the wrong thing. They're not going to get better with that. They need to completely shift their focus. So I find that actually people are quite willing to sustain lifestyle change as long as they see progress. But they just get so frustrated. And I get it. If you're living with chronic pain, you have no bandwidth. And you're so frustrated from spending time and money on things that never worked for you. And that's really where the reluctance to change comes from. So I think if you give people a clear, biologically genetic based roadmap to recovery, they're all over it. They're inspired. And it is hard to make any change, So a lot of the work that I do with people in groups, I do group coaching sessions, is about, okay, I really want to do XYZ. I keep forgetting. I don't have time. It's hard. Whatever those real obstacles are that come up for people that prevent them from implementing, even if they want to, even if they see the value, it is still hard to change, just like what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I think that's where group support is an absolute game changer, compared to back when I did one-to-one in the office. You tell your patient to do something, you're like, yeah, they're not going to do it. When it's a lifestyle change, I feel like. But when it happens in a group and they know what they're supposed to do, and they come back to the group and they see, oh, she did it. And look, she's down from 5 headache days a week down to two. Huh, maybe I can do it too. That is unbelievably powerfully motivating for them. So I love actually the group format. I don't even do one-to-one work anymore. It's all in groups.
That's so interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a change in the setting of how you relate to other people,
Yeah.
successes in
Yeah.
this. I want to change gears a little bit and look more closely into your personal motivation, I would say, to do this. And I'm sure, as a clinician and, in your practice, you had a lot of things that didn't go well sometimes, or didn't like how those
Oh,
goes.
private practice. Yep.
Yes. So, was there anything that it comes to mind right now that you would say kind of stayed with you and made you become better?
You mean lessons that I learned from that
Yeah.
period? I think that there was an awful lot of nitty-gritty system building, ruthless efficiency that has to be built into a private practice in order to make it work. I mean, we had, several docs, mid-levels, et cetera. But man, you really, I mean, you've got to keep your eye on the ball, on the money. So it's not just the medicine, it's how your systems are working. It's, what kind of Google reviews are you getting? It's what are you paying for this, that, and the other thing? Who has access to the credit cards and are they misusing them? Oh my gosh, all the things. But I think it was good training in how to develop a ruthlessly efficient engine because you need that if you're a smallish private practice group, meaning, not associated with some larger organization that's doing all that for you. So it was great training and learning how to run a business.
Yeah, this is a skill that many people are, banging their heads
Yeah.
with, especially
No.
as medical professionals, and it's not an easy task to accomplish.
Yeah.
You need education, you need like personal determination to do this.
Yeah.
You need to be focused, and you need help and mentors also. But you get to a point that you are right now where this could mean a lot of changes in medicine, the way people look at headaches and migraines. Um, like you said, it's a change of focus on how we treat them and diagnose them. So, what's next for you? Where do you want to bring this up to?
I want to help as many people as possible. I want to help women get their life back, plug women back into their families, back into their jobs, back into their communities, whatever it is that they love. I went to a women's college. I think I kind of was shaped at that point in my life with just a deep love for the things that women have traditionally done in the home, also the possibilities for women in the workplace. And I just want to plug women into whatever world they choose in whatever way they choose it and help them do what they love to do, what brings their life meaning, to bring their unique feminine gifts to the world. And I'm also happy to help men. I don't want to leave men out. I'm just women are more impacted by chronic migraine than men. So
Yeah.
that's why, I'm,
Yeah, and where you're talking,
yeah.
I'm thinking of at least like four people that I know that are having debilitating migraines
Every
all
doctor
their
does.
lives, and they
Yeah.
did everything they could, and they're still struggling with that.
Yep.
What can somebody actually do right now in this regard to connect with you and maybe go through this path?
Yeah. Go to theheadachequiz.com. That's a short quiz. It'll walk you through some symptoms, give you an idea of what those underlying biological drivers might be, and get you some free and low cost resources to get started. If all of that feels right to you, there are plenty of options to take it further, to get your own testing done, to work with me. But I think just, check it out, see how it feels. Does it resonate for you? Are you seeing some benefits? Does it make sense? And that's the place to do it at theheadachequiz.com.
Interesting. So, Amelia, you know, look back where you are right now when you started this endeavor and practice. What would be your advice to yourself with what you know
Oh
right
my
now?
goodness. Believe in yourself. Because it is, I don't think it's easy to be out of the box as a doctor. It's a little bit scary when you're doing something nobody else has done. I mean, just all the fears, of, oh, what are people gonna, am I gonna get in trouble for what I'm doing? What if it doesn't work? What if people don't get better? What if, you can go there all day long. So I think my own advice to myself would be just believe in yourself. Just stop questioning it. Just do it.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. I think a lot of us are double guessing ourselves so many times in our career and life
Hmm.
that I feel like a lot of those types of ideas are falling apart just because of lack of belief
Yeah. Yeah.
and consistency.
Doctors reach out to me all the time with great ideas, and I'm like, yeah, do it. But it is, it's incredibly hard to take on another project. Being a doctor is so unbelievably demanding of your time and energy, that it's really hard to find any bandwidth for creativity. So I completely get it. And those are real logistical obstacles. I'm not sure there's an easy answer to that, but I think just in terms of the, your own mindset, just don't ever give up. If there's
Yeah.
something that you want to see in this world, just keep doing it in whatever way you can.
I'm thinking about another implication in the bigger scheme of medicine nowadays is how do you see this particular field and your solution to it plugging into the bigger medical insurance system?
I think it'll be a while before insurance covers any of this stuff. I mean, we know that insurance is decades behind the science, unless we're talking about a new drug, right?
Yeah,
And that's just the system we live in. Again, I'm not bashing pharma. I'm just saying that that's the reality that we're in. The system is made to support devices and pharma and big money. So I think it's going to be a long time until there's any kind of insurance coverage for this kind of stuff, which is sad because that really limits who can be helped by this. I mean, women who's are on disability for migraines, they're on disability. They're not making a ton of money.
yeah,
So, they're not exactly in a position to pay for expensive testing. So I think it's really sad. But I do think that that's the state of affairs, that's probably not going to be covered anytime soon.
yeah. So, it takes probably enough desperation from patients to come to a place like this and get the testing done, follow the path that you have and the protocol, and have to pay cash because that's the model right now. We don't have any other backup plan for this.
Right. Yeah.
Um, but I think everybody would be happy to, like you said, to go along with this if they see changes in others that they worked.
Right.
Amelia, how can people get in touch with you? Maybe ask for your advice, see more of your work, and connect with you.
Yeah, just go to my website. It's my name, ameliascottbarrettmd.com, all one word. And there's like a contact button on there. So yeah, just reach out. I am happy to talk to people, help in any way I can. Collaborate. I love to collaborate with other docs too. Yeah.
Yeah, I really hope people would actually follow this and connect with you, because I think it's a field that it's completely unexplored, and you're one of the pioneers in this, and I'm sure something will come out of it.
Yeah, I hope so, for the good of everyone.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you a busy medical professional striving to excel in life and work? Stellar Success Podcast brings you the habits and insights of top leaders in medicine and beyond. Discover strategies for balance, growth, and fulfillment in every episode. Follow us on Instagram at Stellar Success Podcast for daily inspiration. Start your journey to success today. Subscribe to the YouTube channel now.
That's a wrap on Stellar Success, Leveling Up for Medical Pros with Dr. Tudor Francu. Interested in joining us? Go to stellarsuccesspodcast.com/guest to apply. Stay stellar and level up.